Roundtable, and I appreciate everybody being involved. This is a council-wide roundtable. I have to warn you, though, this is planned as though I'm talking to my district, right? So hopefully what we usually get will be good enough for everybody, and that's my spiel. Where's the furthest somebody is coming in from? Is anybody coming in from St. George? If you are, well, or far like that, I mean relatively far, right? Where's the furthest? Who's more than 100 miles from Salt Lake City?
Green River, Wyoming.
Green River, Wyoming. That's awesome. Cool. That's pretty far. Okay. Where else? Anybody further? If I had a trophy, are you Bud? Is that your name?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, if I had a trophy, I'd hold it for you until I saw you, but there you go. Anybody further than that? Just unmute and say it if you are. Okay, well, you win for now. Good job. Well, as we begin, and people are still kind of coming in, I can hear the dings, although now the numbers of people is farther than I can individually track. So what we'll do is we'll begin with our with the pledge, oath, and law. If you can do me a favor and just stay seated, I think that's the most respectful way to kind of face the camera. I will share my screen, and if everybody can please mute and participate that way, and I will as well mute, and or at least I won't make any noise, and we'll begin our meeting.
Those in uniform, please salute. Those who are not, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Very good. Thank you so much. Let me make sure that doesn't keep making noise. All right, a couple of announcements as we get going. Two of them are specific to the Wasatch Peaks district, but if you would like to know kind of what's happening, at least as some examples in our district, I'm just listen to the announcements. The first one is that we have this Saturday, October 14th, we have our Wasatch Peaks District Pinewood Derby. That's at 5 o'clock at Tim Dahle Nissan in Southtown, South Jordan, Utah. So what we do with that is we invite our community, our Cub Scout and Boy Scout and girls that are in the scouting program community to race their car at Tim Dahle Nissan. They donate a bay. Dane, are you on by chance? Okay, he may or may not be on, but there is information about that. I suppose if you have interest and you are not inside the boundaries of the Wasatch Peaks, you'd be more than welcome to come along. I will post in the chat the link to the web notice on utahscouts.org for our district Pinewood Derby. I apologize. Okay, that'll just ring for a minute. That phone rings like twice a year, and you guys got it. Congratulations. So there you go. So the link in the chat is to our Wasatch Peaks Pinewood Derby information. That is this Saturday at 5 o'clock. The next item that is actually specific to our district is the Wasatch Peaks District Recognition Dinner. And the Wasatch Peak Recognition Dinner is on November 6th. So it's coming up. I will, again, in the chat, I will paste the link to our Wasatch Peaks District Recognition Dinner. That's November 6th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's more information online. Finally, council-wide, the holiday auction is coming up, November 11th, 2023. Is there a representative that wants to speak to the holiday auction? Whatever I say will be what I've read, but we have a whole council full of people here. Somebody may want to speak to it. If not, that's fine. That also is available with information online. It is at the Loveland Living Aquarium. That's November 11th, 2023. And it looks like they've got a keynote speaker. They've got all kinds of things cooking up for that. And I'm excited to hear and see more about it. Our fourth announcement is a guest announcement. Mike, you're up.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jonathan. This is Mike Smith. I'm out of the Timpanogos district, but I'm here today to announce or talk about NYLT. Our council is running 2 courses next year. The first one is June 15th through June 20th at Camp Mapledale, and we have a second course running July 22nd to July 27th at Camp Bartlett. The goal of the council has been to provide 2 and have them, semi set up, a north and a south, to provide easier access for everybody to come and attend. The council has a great website that explains all about NYLT, utahscouts.org/NYLT. There you can get additional information. You can click on the registration links, and there's actually a promotional flyer that's been updated that you can download and use that to pass out to your scouts. Please invite your scouts to register. We are also actively looking for our youth staff now, and or if you know of any of your youth that have gone to NYLT and would be interested in staffing, please get in touch with me. I'll post the NYLT email into the chat. Please send me a message letting me know, oh, I've got somebody. We'll make sure to get an application out to you. Thank you, Jonathan.
No problem. Okay, so thank you so much. Are there any other announcements that need to come before the group?
We do have our Commissioners College coming up on November 4th. We would love to have people even other than commissioners. It's a great learning experience. You'll learn a great deal about scouting. You'll see a lot about what commissioners do, but also how we're supporting you and things that you can learn from this kind of from education like this. So please come November 4th. There you go.
All right, very good. Any others? First thing I want to talk about is very quickly, briefly, it was brought up just barely a bit ago. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And that is right here on Saturday. There's a cool event coming along. It is a solar eclipse, and it's an annular solar eclipse. And if you can see the screen that I've posted here, the darker red is the line in which, if you're inside that line, you'll actually see the ring of fire, right? The moon will end up inside the perimeter of the sun, and so you'll see kind of you'll see the brightness of the sun in a ring outside of that. Everywhere else that is near that, you'll see a pretty decent eclipse. And I've put this together here, I pulled this up, and at the maximum, we will have a crescent of sun rather than a crescent of moon. We'll have a crescent of sun here in Salt Lake City at 10:28 a.m. You probably already know that. You're looking at me like you'd have to live under a rock to not know that this is coming. So as our safety moment, my question for you is, how do you safely look at this, or how would you tell scouts, venture crew members, or Cubs, how would you tell them to see this? Whoever wants to say something, go ahead and say something.
You don't look. You look at a shadow of it. You put a pinhole in a piece of paper and put a big piece of paper and watch the shadow of the moon, the sun, moon going across the sun.
That's great.
Don't
So
look directly at the sun.
yeah, make sure you tell yourself and also any of the kids that are youth that are involved in our scouting, and let them know that that they should not look directly at the sun. Dave, you have something?
Yes. Well, on that same line, if you got a box, about a cardboard box about 2 feet long, cut a hole in one end, paste a paper over that and make a pinhole in it. Paste a piece of white paper on the inside of the other end, and then hold it up above your head so that the light can go through the pinhole and look at the screen at the far end.
Nice. Very good.
They also make special glasses that you can wear too.
I heard from someone they're selling them at Lowe's in some places. Have you seen those around?
Where'd we get ours?
I got mine at the planetarium, the Clark Planetarium in Salt Lake. Also, if you know someone who is a welder, you can view it through welder's glasses.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. So
also in Weber County, the library system is them out.
is that right? That's cool.
In the Weber County library system.
Well, that's awesome. This is interesting to me. And many of you may also be doing something similar. I will be among the hordes of weirdos that are traveling. Sorry, that's not a judgment. That are traveling down into this red zone area. I'll be in a little town called Meadow, Utah. This is actually, believe it or not, I mean, it's kind of interesting. This is actually my profession. I'm a professional astronomer, and I teach it at the community college here. And I'll be down there, and I'm excited to see it. The place that I'm looking at is Meadow, and Meadow, Utah, will have a view. Let's see if this will. That's not it. So Meadow, Utah. Let's see, where's the city? Populated place. Okay.
Just south of Fillmore.
Yeah, it's about, actually, I don't know how far south, like 20 miles or so south of Fillmore. And it will have that ring of fire look. One of my buddies that's also an astronomer called down there and asked the mayor if they could bring their crowd. And so the mayor agreed as long as Meadows crowd could also join. And so I have no idea if that's a big crowd or cows or whoever. Sorry if you're from Meadow. I have no idea. But I'm excited for that.
It's only about 8 miles south of Fillmore, and it'll be the people from Meadow won't be a big crowd, but you might have people from a lot farther than that.
There's only about 10 people live in Meadow.
That's not true. It's not true at all.
It's not very big. It's a lot smaller than Fillmore.
My daughter-in-law's from Meadow.
Is that right?
Yep.
They'll be watching it in the hot springs.
Exactly. That'll be a great place to be watching it, is out at the hot springs.
So we always worry about safety, and if you are communicating with your with young people about that, remind them to not look directly into the sun. It is interesting, and it'll be obvious up here. You know, there were a couple variations of the pinhole camera, right? The white sheet of paper with a hole in it and those kind of things. That works great. It's awesome. You can actually, and in fact, I remember this from being a kid myself. You can actually, and by the way, I'm not telling you something you don't know, but you can actually walk up to a tree with leaves, and the leaves create a million pinholes, and you can see a copy upon copy upon copy of eclipse in the shadows of the trees. And that's when you think, oh, wait a minute, when I see the sun shining through trees, I'm actually seeing the overlay of full copies of the sun, like images of the sun. It's not until there's an eclipse that you notice that you can really see that. You'll see the crescents overlapping and overlaying each other, and it'll be a really, in my mind, it's actually a spectacular sight. And where I'll be, and maybe where you'll be, that ring of fire will have. Well, I guess I can't promise there are trees in Meadow. I assume there are, but you can have those. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean. They're wonderful people, Nita. They're wonderful. Okay, so we'll have these Ring of Fire copies all over underneath the leaves of those trees, and you can see that up here even without the glasses, and it's really cool.
I saw that the last time that there was an eclipse that went through this area and our trees. Unfortunately, the city cut them down a year ago, so we don't have any leaves to look on now.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, and then in the chat,
cool.
I just saw, there is some question about the forecast up here. Down in southern Utah, where this will be going across more center line, the weather is looking pretty good. Up here, it looks like there's a 40% cloud cover. So you got to remember the whole thing from start to finish will take from about 9 to noon-ish, about 10 minutes after 9 until 11:50 or so. And so that's plenty of time. It's only really in the center line that it matters super much that you're exactly on time, because you'll want to see the best centered moon as possible. But outside of that, a deep crescent's a deep crescent. And so I hope you enjoy the eclipse. I hope that you have an opportunity to really see that. Dave, did you have a question, or do you want to say something else?
One very dangerous thing that people do is to try to take a photograph with the camera of the eclipse, looking through the camera like a single lens reflex. That focuses more light on your eye than you would if you looked at the sun directly. Do not do this, and don't let anybody else do it.
All right. So thank you so much for your for the comment. That's true. Be careful with that. And yeah, very good. Now you'll have to help me with your name. Kazuki?
It's Zook.
Okay.
Everyone called me Zook.
I'll call you
That's
Zook
very
too,
true. And do not look directly through the camera. However, in previous eclipses, if you want to get really awesome photos, get yourself a welder's mask. Put the welder's mask directly on the lens of the camera. You can focus through it and zoom in, and you will get some amazing photos.
That's awesome. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for you, and this is a little bit live and unscripted, but that's kind of how I roll. And so don't get me wrong, it's prepared, but it's live and unscripted. And so we'll just see how this works out for us. A couple of interesting questions. Everybody's welcome to participate. I'm going to share my screen. And well, right before I share my screen, what I have here is just, I randomly kind of picked a merit badge requirement. I just randomly picked it. Well, I guess it's not super random, because I had some experience with it. So I have the requirement, which is sort of a describe this requirement. And then I have a description. I have an answer. I have what somebody could turn in. Okay. And I just want to spend about, not very long, maybe about a minute, deciding what we think of the answer. Right. So just hang with me here, and let's just see how this goes. Okay. So I'm going to post this answer. Here's the thing that I've asked for, right? So the requirement 3 from Citizenship in the Nation Merit Badge is list the 3 branches in the United States government and explain the function of each branch of government, why it's important to divide powers among different branches, how each branch checks and balances the others, and how citizens can be involved in each branch of government. There's the question. And now here is the answer. Now I want you to remember, the topic tonight is not necessarily citizenship in the nation, right? So just bear that in mind. But I kind of want to scrutinize this answer, right? So I'll let you take a minute and read this answer. And then I want some feedback as to whether it's a good answer, it's a great answer, and what could improve the answer. That's what I want. So you can't read while I'm jabbering on, so I'm going to just kind of awkwardly go silent. I'm just going to show this much. I'll give you just another few seconds to read that. What I would like you to do, and I have to find out how, maybe somebody else knows this better. You can, I don't remember where the reactions are, right? You can do a thumbs up, you can do a thumbs down, but just on your picture, I'm just curious. I just want to see what you think of the answer just in general, right? So if you already know how to do kind of a reaction, if somebody already knows, then just unmute and say, here's where it is.
Reactions is down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. It's got the happy face.
Nice. So I've got the thumbs up from a few people. I'm just curious as to what you're thinking. And then I'm gonna just ask for, oh, so Bud couldn't find the right reaction. And so he's like, yeah, so.
I can't find my reaction. My issue is with the executive branch.
Okay, what about it?
The president is only a tiny, tiny part of the executive branch. Most people, most citizens, and especially most kids have no idea that the executive branch is by far the largest branch of our government because it includes all of our administrative agencies.
Nice. That's great feedback. That's awesome. What I'm kind of what I'm looking for is just some scrutiny of this answer. Somebody else have a comment on this? What do you like something about it? Is it grate you a little bit? Is it pretty good, bad? What are you thinking? I mean, I saw some thumbs ups and stuff like that, but what's your actual just
it's very
next?
Simplified.
Okay.
At a very I want to say primitive level. It doesn't really give details. It's just sort of an overview.
Do you think it meets the requirement?
Yes.
If I were doing it, that would be the beginning, but I would want it to be expanded.
That's great. That's great feedback. Someone else has thought, I think that's a good question, right? Does this act, that kind of focuses what I'm trying to talk about, I think, a little bit. Does this actually meet the requirement?
I would think in general, but the vocabulary is typical of what we would get from a 12 to 14-year-old scouter.
Okay.
You know, with the super important, super boss, that sort of thing. It's a bit juvenile, but it covers most of the territory. But as we mentioned, there's more that can be said.
Okay. This is really fascinating to me.
I used to counsel this merit badge. I did it in summer school at Ogden High School. 6 weeks, about 12 scouts each week for 3 years.
Yeah.
And this answer is good. Merit badge counselor isn't allowed to change the requirements to make it more elaborate.
Okay.
So I would accept this, but I'm glad I'm not counseling this merit badge today because of all the turmoil in the various branches of our government. And if you get a scout who is in touch with the news, or his parents or her parents are in touch with the news, you're going to get a very lively discussion on this.
On the other hand, there are some great examples. There are fabulous examples of checks and balances and how they are and are not working right now.
Yeah. So just kind of zooming back a little bit, I love your feedback on this. You know, anybody know where I got it?
Probably from a scout.
Yeah.
Probably,
I'm going to share my screen. And what'd you say, Jeff?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen. And this is kind of turning out how I hoped it would. This is Chat GPT. I want you to know what I told Chat GPT. Here's what I asked Chat GPT. As if I'm a 13-year-old, write what the 3 branches of the United States government are, what they do, why it is important to divide powers among the different branches, what checks and balances are, and how citizens can be involved in each branch of government. I literally copied everything from ChatGPT and showed it to you and asked you to critique what it spit out. Before I go any further, did I just shock people? Did I cause a scandal?
No, let me feed this back to you. Coming
Mark,
from
yeah.
ChatGPT, I double down on my response that it seems a little simplistic and juvenile.
Yeah.
Which I expect from ChatGPT.
Well, and not only that, but I told ChatGPT to be that way, right?
Right, you did.
Yeah. Is
Jonathan?
anybody? I'm just super curious, and you don't have to be. You can be like, oh, this is the most boring roundtable I've ever been to, and I feel bad that it took me 10 minutes to get in, and then now I'm listening to this. But did I shock anybody? Is anybody shocked?
No, not really.
No.
If anything, it uses, I won't lie, it sounds like an adult trying to be a teenager, because unfortunately, I don't know any 13-year-old that uses double space kerning after a period or
Well,
periods.
Okay, that's fair.
But it does bring us to the aware that we do need to be aware of the possibility of that being done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and to be honest, if they read it carefully, I don't care. They learned something in the process.
Okay, so those are fighting words, right? So, and that's exactly where I wanted to get to, right? I want us talking about this. I want us understanding what's happening here. But
Jonathan?
Yeah, go ahead.
From a disability awareness side, I think this is excellent. And I think you maybe even need to go simpler, because if you have a scout who's nonverbal, have him draw it out, because he can put it into pictures and he can do exactly what you've done, you know, as far as the wording, and have him tell you what the pictures mean. I mean, there's many different abilities out there of all of our scouts. And sometimes we say, no, you can't answer it verbally, but in the long run, there's other ways they communicate rather than just verbal or written form.
That is a fantastic comment. And I had not even considered that going into tonight. That this is an interesting thing, right? So, you know, we can instantly start to say, oh, this is trouble, because a scout or whoever might use this to pretend to know something that they never knew. But another one might be able to actually communicate in a certain way with it. Or it could be a starting point of something to study. These are the kinds of things I really want to explore here. And we don't have a ton more time. We only got 20 minutes or so, but I really want to understand what kind of things are going on. Okay, so here's the merit badge requirement, right? List the 3 branches of government, and those are right there, right? And I'll leave that there for just another moment.
Looking at that, I'd say that ChatGPT generated thing fulfills this, because if the scout had gone to an encyclopedia or a book and copied it down and handed it in, that would fulfill it. It does not say list from memory. It just says list. They've done it.
Dave, I'm glad you're talking about it. And you know what? Out of 56 people on this meeting, I have no idea how many agree with you and how many don't. But what I think is awesome is that it's here, right? And it's something interesting to think about. And a comment about how maybe a scout with an intellectual challenge could use this is incredible. I think it's really, really interesting. I asked it, I thought, hey, look, what if, and I'm going to go back to that. What if I'm a tenderfoot, or I'm almost tenderfoot scout, and I need to show up for my camp out, and I need my list of gear? So I asked it, or no, let's ask it together. That's what I was going to do. So I'm going to make a new chat. I've logged into openai.com, and I'm going to make a chat. And the thing I'm going to ask it is, what gear should I take on my overnight scout campout? And there it goes. Well, it's going faster than I can read it. I don't know about you. So it says packing for an overnight scout, and you watch me type this. Like look, Ma, no hands, right? Packing for an overnight scout campout requires careful consideration to ensure that you have everything you need while keeping your gear lightweight and practical. And it says you need a backpack, sleeping gear, and that means a tent, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, clothing, and it talks about that, food and cooking, navigation and communication, first aid kit, lighting, hygiene and personal care, miscellaneous, a pocket knife, repair kit, notepad and pen, group gear, scout handbook. Look at that, scout handbook, it even knows that, and identification and money. And I could say, what about a camp out in northern Utah? And it clarifies layered clothing, moisture wicking base layers, insulating layers, hiking pants. Now, maybe some of you know so much more about ChatGPT than I do. Look, altitude sickness, first aid. Yeah, and I've never typed this before into this, and I've never kind of honed this down. I think it's fascinating. Is it
So
dangerous?
ChatGPT is just an AI?
It is.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay, so help me understand
Uh-huh.
when the requirement states to explain, and some scout just goes in and types up, hey, AI, give me an answer. To me, that does not satisfy the requirement, because as a counselor to this, I am counseling and recognizing whether this boy or girl has understood and can explain, whether it's written down or not. They should be able to explain it. That's what the requirement states. It's
So-
not just fulfill the requirement and check off the box.
Yeah.
It's explain it. We use the EDGE method all the time. And so if these people don't understand, if the boy or the girl doesn't understand from having put in a little bit of time, effort, and energy, I mean, AI isn't going to do it for them.
So I hear you. And I knew that I was bringing a little bit of controversy that I didn't even know fully kind of how that would work. I'm not asking you to allow ChatGPT to pass off requirements for young people, but I am exposing you to what they are getting used to on their daily lives of using to learn things.
Sure. And if they can explain it in their own words, I can accept all of that. And
That's
that's
great.
what I'm looking for.
That's
Right,
all
and
I'm
if you
presenting
can
here.
take that GPT output and then say, so let's say we're going camping this weekend, how much of that applies?
I
That
completely
very
agree.
that very first list that you showed before you personalized it to northern Utah,
Yes, sir.
it reminded me so much of the list that I used to generate and hand out to my scouts when I was a scoutmaster.
Dave, can
It could have been my list. I probably still have that somewhere on my hard drive.
That list is in your scout handbook if they read it.
Yes, it is.
Which is
And
what
ChatGPT read it.
ChatGPT
Yes.
just regurgitates what's already been published. So because if you publish it online, it's going to consume it and then just regurgitate it.
All right.
So in other words, the boys that can't pick up a book and read it, that's what they got their handbook for.
Okay, so
Well,
you're gonna
they're not reading it; they're picking it up online.
All right. So some of you,
I
if we can just
understand.
kind of dial it
Hey,
down
so I have a
little bit.
question about this. My name is Paul Vernay. I'm in.
Yes, sir.
What is BSA's policy on using Chat GPT for this type of thing?
That's
Are
a
we
great
going
question.
rogue by? Are we going rogue by doing it, or do they have a policy about it?
Well, we are not in Roundtable going rogue. I can promise you that. My purpose here is to show you what the kids are using for school all day, every day. So my students at the college, they do this all the time. So our goal is to understand what the youth that we are leading and developing are facing. right? That's my goal in this roundtable, not to make people mad, not to hot button it up. So I doubt, I haven't seen any policy from the BSA, but I haven't seen any policy from the BSA nor at my college that I teach at that says that people are forbidden to use this. It's here. So I have if you thought that my questions so far are already tantalizing and horrifying and scandalous, I have yet a worse one.
No, I mean, no, I thought that was a great example. What do I use on a camp out?
Yep, I
mean,
love it.
That'd be great for that.
I love
it's-
it. So
it's
here's my
when
question, and I'm ready to hear the answer from, and there's going to be 10 opinions, and that's okay. How can you use this as a scoutmaster to plan an activity night?
Hey, so when you use this in your class for your students, right? What subject do you teach?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't actually use it. I'm the one that is flabbergasted when they know so much, right?
So what subject do you teach, if you don't mind me asking?
My subject is physics, astronomy.
Okay, so when do they use it? Like if they're in the middle of their midterm, do you allow them to ask ChatGPT, hey, how many moons orbit Saturn or something like that?
I don't have a choice of what they choose to use it for. Let me give you an example of when the most recent student used it. I gave an assignment to make some program code to solve a particular problem of projectile motion in the presence of air resistance. And a student asked ChatGPT to write the code in the language that I required it, and it did, and it ran.
And you know, we're getting off topic from the BSA, but you don't consider that plagiarism if a computer writes the code?
Well, welcome to my
I'm
committee
just curious.
meetings all day at school, right? How you cite a computer and how you cite the knowledge of human history. I don't want to detract. I don't want people to get icky feelings. This is a technology that's here, and now I want you to unlock it for yourself and be able to use it.
So
another example I pulled up for Cub Scouts was the Bear Required Adventure Pause for Action Requirement 2A, and I'm going to show it to you again. If I were planning a cub, and everybody that knows me would probably laugh, like he's not going to plan a cub. Even he doesn't know a thing about cubs. You're right, but just give me the benefit of the doubt for just a minute, and I'm going to share my screen one more time. Remember, the requirement is find out about 2 famous Americans, share what you learned. So I asked ChatGPT, who are 2 famous Americans? What can I learn from them? ChatGPT came back with Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr. and gave me a whole list of things. I didn't ask it to pretend I was a cub. I didn't say as a 10-year-old. I just said to inspire me as a person planning an activity around this requirement, give me some ideas. And these are the 2 that it gave me and why it gave it to me. I could further look deep. I could ask it for more than 2. I could have the Cub Scouts involved in a query kind of scenario with this. I could ask it more specific things that are regional or even more about diverse populations. I could ask for important famous people from those from diverse populations to talk about those. I'm giving some ideas that maybe we could actually use ChatGPT even in the midst of scouting to save us time in planning activities or in helping the young people learn the things that they need to learn as part of their requirements and activities.
Right, and I asked ChatGPT to answer your previous question.
Okay.
So I said, what would be a few good outdoor games for a scout activity? He gave me 10.
I'm ready for it. I want to stop sharing. What'd you get?
Capture the flag, a nature scavenger hunt, orienteering challenge, tug of war, sardines. How many are familiar with sardines?
I have no idea, but
it's reverse hide and seek. one person hides and everybody else has to find them and hide with them. It's fun in the dark. Obstacle course, water balloon volleyball, three-legged races, frisbee golf, and fire building and cooking challenges.
Nice. Thanks, Mark. Hey, Dawn, how do I say your name?
Yes, it's Dawn, and I was trying to say yes on sardines and couldn't get the hand to go away.
Well, I'm glad you know about sardines.
If I may, for just a moment.
Yeah.
So I work in IT.
My condolences.
Yeah, it's even worse than you know because I work for.
I know. Trust me.
But I've forgotten more about my job than I could ever write down. And part of what everyone's like, oh, well, you work in IT, you must know everything about computers, and that's not the case.
No.
It's mostly about being able to find the information. And something I've noticed about youth especially is they ask things in ways that, like, we could write knowledge base articles all day until our fingers bleed. And at the end of the day, they're asking questions in a way that we never wrote a knowledge base for. And so for people who are concerned about this, and I get it because I am as well, I like to look at ChatGPT as a kind of great curator of information for questions that you don't know they're going to ask. The actual enable part of Edge, however, is not them spitting back what ChatGPT is giving them. The actual enable is them internalizing that and teaching it to then other youth. Because at the end of the day, they should be passing this information on to the younger patrol, or, you know, as patrol leaders, they should be teaching it to their patrol, or and that's the enable, not them spitting this answer back out to you. So this is a great tool for them to get the information or get ideas, as you've brought up as well, because short of typing a question into Google, which is what most of us were doing, if we're being honest, we've all been asking questions into Google for years, and now here's another tool that can do it better. So I see both sides of the argument in terms of this is a great tool, and this is also an unfair shortcut.
Yeah, it also just one thing real quick that pushes us to, instead of training people to look up information, we need to enable them to employ critical thinking skills and analysis of the information that comes back. That's where it changes the paradigm. You just don't go to the manual or to Britannica and look it up and accept it at face value.
I appreciate that. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. I am not necessarily advocating a thing and trying to convince you to agree that it's a good thing, but I am telling you, here's a thing.
And it's relevant. That's what the kids are doing. And it's almost like Sears went out of business because they didn't stay relevant. They didn't connect with what the millennials and the Gen Zers are doing. And that's the generations we're dealing with, their children, and they're not doing things the old-fashioned way. So either we stay relevant, or Boy Scouts or scouting is going to become irrelevant.
Thanks, Renee, for your I hope I said your name right. Thank you for the comment. And in addition, if I can take 45 minutes of planning for your cub or scout activity and turn it into 15, I don't know if that's a terrible thing, right? Time is a tough commodity to come by, right, Alvin?
Yes. I don't know how many of you guys have been on Wood Badge pre-2000, but one of the things we were taught is to use your resources. And what is better resource than the computer?
Yeah, I agree. And I got to be honest with you, was it Roger that you brought up, hey, this gives us new tools to deal with scouts that have different circumstances in their mind. I mean, that to me is a fascinating thing. the idea that I could personalize some answers to things that are specific interests to the kids that we're dealing with today. I love that kind of thing. Go ahead.
Back to the explain or discuss, that was a really nice, going all the way back, say, to the citizenship response. That was a very nice summary, but I'm going to ask a scout, okay, now can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I love it.
Don't just feedback that one line, but that's not a discussion or an explanation.
Just like none of us would ask ChatGPT to plan a 15-minute presentation on plants in northern Utah and then just print it out and read it.
Exactly.
Right? So our time is here. Are you disillusioned? Are you gonna get off that round table and be like, I'm never going to a Wasatch Peaks roundtable ever again?
If
I
you
hope
do your
that-
critical analysis and that's the answer you come to, perhaps you should revisit the argument in the first place. You asked the wrong question.
I am so grateful everybody came tonight. I wanted to kind of in a live and unscripted way kind of see, hey, how does some of this new technology interface with our regular activities as scouts and in Cub Scouting, venturing, so forth. And I'm so grateful we did. I learned a lot of things tonight. I was able to place a few things tonight. I hope that you look at this and say, okay, here's a thing, and it's really interesting. And there are people out there, including people I know or you know that are using it, and we have an opportunity potentially to save a few minutes here and there, at very least, and at very most, really put a new tool in the toolbox. And here it is, and there you go. If you haven't told us in the chat who you are, then make sure you type in the chat your name and your what district you're from, where you're from, who you are, that kind of thing. And then I'm gonna sign off, and I'm so grateful for everybody's participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.